All right. So let's see. I'm gonna pull up the form you sent in to me really quick. So you said you were getting into, you have a job lined up.
Yeah, I just got accepted actually. I'm gonna start in like three weeks.
Okay.
But I I don't know why they scheduled me like a month after giving me the offer to start working.
Hmm.
It's kind of suspicious, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like I went for the interview. It was like a 4 hour, three-part interview.
Wow. Okay.
And the final hour was a group interview. It
Okay.
was it was like really, really tedious, really long.
Right. So, and you said this was like for tech support.
Yeah, for a tech support position.
I'm assuming like it's local to you.
It's actually like 130 kilometers away because there's no opportunities like near me. But I'm willing to relocate, you know, move to that city
Yeah. Okay.
because the pay is also surprisingly good.
Okay, for the current position.
Yeah, and for like zero experience also.
And then you said you're also, were you taking, you're taking a computer science degree, right?
Yeah, I actually finished last
Oh, you
year,
finished.
and I've been looking for jobs for 9 months now, and I just couldn't land anything. I was I was getting a couple interviews, like I think I had in total like 10 interviews or something like that,
Hmm.
but I was just not passing them because I actually had a pretty good internship opportunity for a like a web development role.
Hmm.
But I like totally bombed it. I couldn't explain my any of my projects. I couldn't like explain any of the basic stuff. It was like disaster mode.
Yeah. No, that's all right. That's all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now you do have something lined up. Are you,
Yeah.
you're looking to stick with that for a while, or are you just looking to like explore and see what else is out there as
Yeah.
well?
I'm looking to stick with that for a while, but just in case like it doesn't last,
Right.
I want to have like a backup option.
A backup
Uh,
option. Okay.
and I also wanted to maybe like bounce some ideas off you. Maybe you have a better overview of the tech market, or maybe you've worked in tech before. I
Yeah.
think yeah, you've worked in tech
Yeah.
before.
I was a web developer. I've been in tech for the last almost decade, almost I think. Like
Oh, that's
since I
crazy.
was really young, I've been in tech. Like one of my first jobs pretty much was like cell phone repair. So I've been in tech since I think I was like 16. So
Whoa. What was your first job?
I was doing cell phone repair when I was 16.
Oh, that's
So
cool. That's
I
really
was,
cool.
yeah, I was fixing cell phones, stuff like that. And then I went to some like it's like a boot camp thing where it's like an accelerated computer science degree for web
Yeah.
development. Did that, became a web developer for a little bit, and then I transitioned into what was my previous role, which I just left like last week. So, and then that one was pretty much teaching computer science, but that was for like kids and stuff. I was like
Oh,
kind of like a
yeah.
STEM teacher, but
Yeah, you said that in your videos.
yeah, yeah, it was a
And
fun
now
job.
you're in sales, right?
Yeah, so now I'm gonna be in sales.
That's cool.
I take my license exam tomorrow, so we'll see how that
Well,
goes. But
it'll go well.
yeah, I think so too. Thank you. Um, All right. So, and then you said you had some ideas you wanted to bounce back and forth really quick.
Yeah, because I'm not sure. I still don't know like what would best fit me,
Right.
what tech role or job.
Hmm.
Because I tried to learn web development for like 3 years now,
Right.
and I've just been really, really inconsistent with it, you know?
Right. So,
So,
inconsistent with it as in like it's like an on and off thing where like
yes,
so a couple of days you're like really interested and invested in it and then a couple
yeah,
of days later you're not. Okay.
yeah. I actually started and almost finished like 300 hour courses on Udemy.
Hmm.
Maybe you know them, like for full stack development, the
Yeah.
Cold Steel one.
Hmm.
I almost finished that, but I just there was so much info and I couldn't.
Couldn't retain it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the tutorial help thing,
Right.
really got me.
So you're not so sure if web development is it.
Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
because I can't think of anything else honestly.
Okay.
Just maybe easier stuff like tech support or
Yeah. So what was it specifically about web development that drew you in, or was that just like the first thing?
it interested me because I liked the design part,
Okay. So
the creative aspect, it's kind of cliche. Everyone says they like creative stuff and
mhm. That's totally fine.
yeah, just basically it translates to I'm lazy and don't want to do the hard logical stuff.
Well, it
Yeah, I
depends. I
don't
mean,
know.
it some things are easy for some people and they're hard for other people too. So I mean, like for
Yeah.
me, I'm the complete opposite. So when I was in web development, I hated the design aspect. I loved the
Oh,
back
really?
end and setting up all like the data and the back
Oh, yeah.
end. And that for me, that was easy. That was the part that I liked. But then the design stuff, I hated it. I could never do it right. So
Yeah.
all right. So let's see.
I actually got to the express part in the Cold Steel course
Hmm.
and like routing the website with the get and post requests and
Right.
the logical stuff was really interesting also.
Hmm.
So yeah, I kind of like the backend stuff too, but yeah.
So web development is so far that's the
That's the
I
only
get
thing I've tried
only
too.
thing you've tried. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me look something up. Let's see. So I'm not too familiar with the market out there. So I was kind of looking around, but obviously game development is an option. Um
Yeah.
that in my opinion can be a little bit harder to get into. And it definitely takes a bit longer. Just simply because when you're building out your personal portfolio and stuff for game development, essentially that requires you to be like making your own games, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Um, I have I've had people who worked for me who in my last role, basically I had this guy, he was doing basically like teaching coding for a while, and on the side he was building up his own portfolio, studying coding and stuff like that. And he would just build a bunch of different games, like using Unity and C Sharp and stuff. He built up a nice little portfolio, and then he ended up getting picked up by Microsoft, and he now is like working on the Forza games.
Oh,
So
really? That's
there's
awesome.
those are always options. I mean, you can
Does he have a degree or?
yeah, actually I think he does. I think he had just finished it up, and then he started working for me, and then it was like about a couple months, and then he moved over to Microsoft. But um
Do you do you think having a degree is like an advantage, especially for your first job? Or
Yeah, so it helps because it shows that like you at least have some basic understanding and exposure to like all the concepts and stuff like
yeah,
that that are like contained in a CS degree. So you know like the general overlay of tech and like the whole base foundation layer of knowledge there. The only thing is with degrees where some people can be hesitant to hire people with a degree and say no personal portfolio versus somebody with no degree and a nice portfolio. The difference
oh yeah,
there is that they know that that person with a nice portfolio has gone out of their way to like put the effort in and develop those skill sets. And so when you
portfolio
combine
probably matters way more.
yeah. So when you combine both, that's when you get the best results there because if you
Yeah,
have the degree that shows that you're able to stick through the program, you've learned what you needed to learn, you can complete the courses and the coursework, stuff like that. And so you know that part of it, you know, like the theoretical knowledge. But then if you have the portfolio that has like personal projects, of course you can include things like tutorials and stuff like that. But if you have like
yeah,
you know actual projects that you've built by yourself from the ground up or maybe like with a friend and collaborated on, that just shows that for one you have more of a vested interest into it, but also shows that like you're capable of learning new and hard concepts on your own outside of a classroom. And that's the thing
yeah,
about tech is that it's almost like a revolving door. Like you get in and it's like you're learning X, Y, and Z tech stack, and then you know later on you move to another company like a year later down the road, and the tech stack you're using is completely different, even though like you know it's kind of the same role. It could be in the even in the same um like the same career field. Like you could be in like health science or like health computer science and you're doing like medical coding stuff and then all of a sudden you move to another company and it's a complete it's all
wait,
different.
just a second. What is medical coding? Because I've heard this term a lot
Yeah.
before.
So that's another
Very exciting.
option. That's another career field. So a lot of these like big medical companies, they need people who are developers to develop the different applications and software that they use. And so it's kind of a mix of both web dev and like software application development most of the time. The only thing is it's very regulated. And generally things with when it comes to like medical coding, a lot of the stuff is kind of dated, just simply because they've had like at least here in the companies that I've worked with, they have like very large code bases with like lots and lots of data, and so it's really hard to like migrate or move any of that over. So a lot of the stuff is really dated. So if you do, for instance, like you take let's say you're self-taught and you're learning more modern like tech stacks, languages, stuff like that, and then you get a role in the medical field for computer science. A lot of the times you're going to go back and you're going to be learning a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily like relevant anymore, but it's needed for the job. It's very job specific. The cool thing about medical coding stuff though is like the job security is generally pretty okay. Um,
Yeah.
but there's like there's tech in every field. So like my dad, for instance, he works in financial tech. So my dad's on the
Oh,
financial banking side of
yeah.
tech. I almost
I
worked in
actually
fintech for a while, but
actually had an interview for a fintech position.
mhm.
It was quite interesting because the requirements were basically just SQL, Excel, and markup languages like
Right,
HTML,
HTML and stuff.
XML.
Yeah.
But I pussied out of the interview and didn't go because I wasn't sure about my SQL skills. But like that role seemed really interesting. It
So
was
let's see.
basically automation. Uh, yeah, something like that.
Mhm.
Automation in the fintech field. But for like medical coding, do they usually use uh, tech stacks like Java or C++, plus plus, C sharp, technologies
Um,
like that?
so for the company, the company that I worked in was also it was a medical coding position, but this one was more focused on like testing, like test results, sample stuff like that. And so a lot of the stuff that we did was basic JavaScript. Um, there's some jQuery in there, and it was basically your bare bones web development tech stack. Like there's
Yeah,
nothing crazy in there. Um, there are still some companies that do that. I'm not really sure like what. Let me see. There's a big one next to me. Let's see.
How
So
did
I think they use the or some denomination of C, but that's generally it because it's more secure. So like C++, C sharp, stuff like that probably.
yeah? How did you learn web development?
Yeah. So for me, essentially, I spent a couple of years in high school. I was taking programming classes, so I learned some basic stuff there. And I mostly just continued it out on my own until I think I was like 18 or 19. And I had the option of going to school or getting a job. Basically, I had an offer lined up for Spectrum, which is like a big ISP over here. Um,
Yeah, it's like an
yeah,
ISP.
yeah, and so I had a job lined up with them, and I was going to be like like a field tech. So I'd be going out
Oh,
like setting
yeah.
everything up. The pay was really good. I'd have like a company vehicle and everything. I would have been like 19, making like $20 an hour or something. So it was pretty good for especially for the area that I was in. But I ended up turning it down and I went to school instead. And so then I went and did that at like a accelerated web development program. And so then for them, the curriculum there, it was all right. It was basically the whole first couple months. It was just teaching everything on the front end and like learning how to like use frameworks and libraries to speed everything up, so like Bootstrap, jQuery, stuff like that. And then we spent the last like couple months mostly just doing like interview prep and stuff. Um,
Well, they actually did interview prep.
yeah, so the interview prep part is actually I think it's super underrated. Because
Yeah,
so from like what you've told me, it seems like you're not really like confident in your abilities, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, yeah, because I can't get myself to stick to even learning like the basics
mhm,
decently, so I have a good shot, a good
right,
chance.
right. So
But yeah,
what is it about like tech in general that like draws you towards tech, like as a career choice? If that makes sense.
um, yeah, basically the fact that you can work remotely.
Hmm.
I also like I said, the creative aspect of it. Um, the UX UI really interests me. I don't know why, but it's like the psychological part and the design part
Yeah, like
together
meshes
is more
together. Yeah.
appealing. Yeah. Uh, like I said, I kind of enjoyed the backend stuff too a bit, but yeah, I also like the general generic stuff. Like it's a really growing field and
Yeah.
it's well paying, but yeah, that you only get to that if you're like decent or good. So
Yeah. And so the thing about tech too, especially when it comes to like coding and software development, I want to say majority of the time, the first job is always the hardest to land.
yeah.
And after that, it's just making sure you can keep up with it and you're learning and growing the whole time. So
Yeah,
the
because like you said, you have to constantly learn, even if you get the
right,
first job. Or
right.
and there's like people like you that are genuinely interested and started like from high school and stuff like that.
Right. And
So
so now, like for me, for instance, like I found out, so I started off like you with web development, and I thought that was the path like that I was going to take. I thought that's where I was going to head. I ended up not liking it. Just I don't know if it was just the job that I was in, but then I completely pivoted. I stayed in tech, but then I moved more to the people side of tech, and then I found that that was like a really good fit for my skill set. And so
yeah,
I know because see, so you mentioned that the UI UX stuff is like more interesting
Yeah,
to you.
but like from what I've seen from this like 9 month job hunt thing,
Hmm.
most jobs or most job postings require Java or
Okay. Let's
yeah, just
see.
I've seen a lot of Java like everywhere. I don't know, and I guess I've seen a lot of embedded job postings and a lot of C C plus plus.
Right.
It I thought I'd see more like web dev stuff, but there's a decent amount of web dev stuff, but most things are Java.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. I'm looking on LinkedIn really quick so I can just kind of see what they've got. I'm seeing a lot of stuff for SQL for sure. Like a lot.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
I've
Like you can
seen one UI UX posting so far. Yeah.
yeah, UX isn't that popular.
Mm.
I think SQL jobs would actually be like not that hard, or
Yeah.
like
Mm.
not on the level of web dev or something like that. Because there's a lot of automation and stuff right now, I think. I don't know.
Right. So let's see. Just seeing a lot of product management roles. I also don't know what like freelance work and stuff looks like out there either, because for here where I am, I could relatively easy start like a freelance, you know,
Really?
web design
You
company in like a week. Because like it's so,
really?
yeah, the process here is really easy. You just go online and you file it, file for an LLC, and you just get everything set up, and then you set up
Oh,
bank accounts and everything, and you're good to operate in like a week.
I've never actually tried to uh, what's it called? Freelance?
Hmm.
Because I always believed the thing that it's super saturated and everyone's doing it and you know it's too hard to start and you're gonna have no clients because everything is taken by like the most popular
Right,
indie app or
right.
like the you know
So the thing is with freelance, especially if you're doing like freelance web design, it's really nice if you have a background in like marketing and some other things like that too. Just so you can kind of backpack a bunch of services together and kind of tailor it that way to the person you're like trying to help.
yeah.
But the easiest way to start off, really, it's for me, it was cold calls. Like,
Oh, cold calls.
yeah. And so, for
Yeah,
instance, like,
that's really tough,
yeah, so
but
essentially
it's
all you would
doable.
do is like, you would just look for small businesses. So like if I hopped on Google, and I searched for like plumbers near me or something,
Oh yeah,
um,
that's actually a really good idea.
yeah, and so then
So
you can forget where this button is, but let's see. There is a button somewhere. But it's essentially you can go through and look at a bunch of like companies and stuff in your area, and there's a way to like find lesser known companies. I can't remember exactly how I pulled it up, but and in there you basically just go through, you look and see like what they've got set up for them, and then you can just shoot them a quick call, or an email, a cold email, and just
Yeah.
be like, hey, I can offer these services and stuff like that. And that's a good way to build up your portfolio.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
actually probably the best way to do it.
yeah, because I mean, in the meantime, you'll potentially you could make a little bit of money on the side depending on how you work everything out there, but
Yeah.
also it just like gives you real world experience and working with clients and stuff like that. And so like when it comes to tech, the thing about the field is that there are a lot of people in tech who are really like talented, like really really good
Yeah.
programmers, people who are really knowledgeable, project managers, stuff like that. The thing that really sets people apart in tech is either going to be their adaptability and ability to like learn new things and adjust, but also their people skills and like how they network, because it's a lot easier to have essentially you have a group of people who all have a lot of strengths in different areas, and when you like put them together, it's easier to form a team and like have a really good product that way versus just relying on one person who like would need to like know everything, if that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
if you're able to like network and meet a lot of people, also obviously you're going to have more opportunities and stuff pop up that way, because if see 15, 20 people who all work in tech and programming, and it's like you get laid off and they all know how good of a programmer you are. They know what your specialties are. Like they can help you get like a foot
Yeah.
in the door, stuff like
I
that. So
actually
like,
have like four friends that are programmers,
mhm. have
and
you have you talked to them at all?
yeah, I've talked to them, but like one of them works on like embedded systems and like for a car company, like
Yeah.
a big producer, and I don't know the technology stack. It's like Python, C, and C plus plus, C sharp. Not too sure,
Hmm.
but I'm not too familiar with the technologies.
Right.
And there's also like the other two or three friends, like they won't help me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like asked them and they were like, fuck off, just look on LinkedIn
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that. They're actually both web devs, so yeah.
Yeah. So I think the biggest focus right now. So because you have that job lined up already,
Yeah.
and since the pay is good, at least relatively from what you said. So I
Yeah, it's
think
good.
that part is, as long as you can coast and you can do that, and that works for you. Putting enough energy into that just to make sure like you're getting your paycheck every 2 weeks or
Yeah.
whatever, and you're not getting in trouble or anything. And then it's just going to be using extra free time on the side to like build up your skill set and find
Yeah.
find ways to kind of pivot your free time into something you're more looking towards. So I think really with boosting like the self-confidence in your own abilities, that'll definitely come with time. Imposter syndrome is something that just like never goes away though. It definitely it comes and goes. Like it'll go away for a bit, but it'll always come back. So just like knowing how to deal with that obviously is going to be um, kind of key moving forward. But if you're looking for with remote work, you're looking for the creative aspect in it. You're interested in user experience, and like the user interface stuff. You like the growing potential of tech and everything like that. Then it sounds like tech is a good fit, especially if it's something you
Yeah.
like doing. Again, it's
Yeah.
just figuring out how to pivot into that. So I think definitely getting some personal projects under your belt would be a good start. So like,
Yeah.
what do you
I've
have
uh,
in
I've,
your?
I've I've actually done a few. Wait, let me link you my uh GitHub.
Yeah.
But they're like really basic uh things where I like combined more tutorials, a couple of tutorials,
Hmm.
like into a few projects. But yeah, I've taken I linked you the thing.
This
A,
up real
a couple
quick.
of friends that work in the tech industry basically just suggested that I do more complex projects, and they are right. But it's like really hard
It is, yeah, yeah.
because yeah, I tried to do a project where I basically had a login system with a card system, like an e-commerce store almost,
Hmm.
and I couldn't get I couldn't get the projects that were added in the card while logged in to go into the SQL database, and I just gave up.
Yeah, I mean
I don't
that's
know. I
that's
was like stuck for a month
yeah,
or something like that.
those are tough. Having the whole like create, remove, update, delete functionality, all that sort of deal.
Oh yeah, those are like really harder than expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you think web dev is a good bet? Like,
I mean,
it
it's
just depends
yeah,
on
it
who
it
you are.
depends really on like the thing is because with tech it just depends on what you're interested in because if you're interested in it then you can carry that interest into developing your skill set
Yeah,
that way. Whereas like for me, web development was like a horrible choice because I just wasn't super interested in it. I was more interested in the client relations aspect of it and like the sales portion. And so like for me, like the actual coding part wasn't the fun part. It was like building and networking and like getting
yeah,
the scope of the
that's actually
project and stuff like that.
that's actually pretty uncommon because in tech, people are usually scared of that,
Right, right.
like networking and the sales,
Mm-hmm.
and most people enjoy the creative part based on the harder logical part. Like,
Right.
yeah, so that's a really huge advantage for you.
But like just looking at the I'm looking at the Guild Wars one right now.
Oh yeah,
Like the general like design of everything, it's very clean. It's
I mean,
responsive.
it's really basic. So
Right, but for like personal projects and stuff like that, and if you're like trying to it's like you're looking to reach out to small business owners and get them set up with like a website and stuff, like that's pretty much all they really need. They like especially if they're looking for just like an informational page that just has like a phone number on it, and then the design aspect and making sure everything is like SEO
yeah,
friendly and also mobile friendly. Like that's a big portion of it. And the cool thing is like just by doing that for somebody gives you more credibility and also will most likely help you with feeling more confident in your own abilities too, just simply because it's
yeah,
like you did that on your own for somebody else who's now using that for their business, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
That's probably the best value out of my
Right.
time to
And
just try and do a
yeah, so
project.
it depends on like also it really depends on how you are as a person. So like for me, like cold calling and stuff like that is I'm used to that already, and I know some people are
But
really uncomfortable
yeah,
like doing that sort of thing.
yeah, it's pretty hard. But I think first, like even if I do two websites for free, like it
Hmm.
would be really worth it
Yeah,
because I would just put them on my resume and I talk about them during my interview and would be a huge leg up. So
yeah. And another option to add things to your portfolio too, what you could do is say the part of like reaching out to the prospective business owner and like trying to set up their website for them. Say like that part, the cold calling, cold emailing, whatever part bothers you. A thing that I've done in the past, I've set up their website without saying anything to them. So like
oh yeah,
I just made the website on my own and then I decided at the end if I was like, okay, I'll just like send them an email and be like, hey, I made this website. If you want it,
yeah, that would be a good idea
then like
too.
you can do it that way. But that way you still get the practice. It goes in your portfolio, and if you
Yeah,
wanted to, you could just change up the name. So, for instance, if it was like XYZ Plumbing Company, you just change it to ABC Plumbing Company and just like put it in your
yeah,
portfolio that way. And it's like you have
yeah,
it for
yeah,
later, and if you want it, you know they can take it, stuff like that. But
yeah.
um,
Or you could just lie that you
yeah,
actually made it for them during an interview.
right,
So
right. And so the thing is too, because you say you're so interested in the creative aspect and the UI UX design aspect, it it's in my opinion when it comes to like corporate work and stuff like that, unless you're in like a UI UX role for most jobs, it seems like that creative aspect isn't really there because there's you have like regulations and rules
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
standards and practices you have to follow. So the creative aspect part, for instance, if you liked doing tech support, which you could really like it. I know some people who literally like that's their thing. They just do tech
Yeah,
support. They
I
like
don't
to,
know.
because it's just like you never know. I mean, some
Yeah,
people go through it, they like it. You could transition customer support into like uh what is it called, a customer specialist role, and then like you can move that up into like so many different fields, um customer service representative, stuff like that, account
yeah,
management,
that's
things like
true.
that. So there's
Actually,
like
even like in this role, there's a progression. It's like L1 tech support, L2,
right,
and
L2,
L3,
L3, yeah,
something like that.
yeah. And the thing is like another thing to look out for is when you're in those types of companies with tech support, like obviously they work in tech, obviously they have a program, obviously they have software developers, stuff like that. If you're working at the job, you're doing at least okay at your job, and you're networking and you're meeting people who are, working in your job, maybe in the roles that you want. It's good to figure out what they're doing, talk to them, see what um, you know,
Yeah,
what tech stack, stuff like that they're using, so you can kind of learn and study up on it, and just like show interest in progressing towards a certain direction.
yeah.
And oftentimes people will want to help you. So
Do you think it's like a big advantage to like could you move to a developer role like easier if you started in tech support for this company, for example, or would they like prefer to hire someone from the outside?
I think it depends really. If
Yeah,
so, for instance, if I was hiring somebody and I had, let's say I had three applicants. Let's say, so the first applicant was somebody who works in tech support, and they had a developing personal portfolio that showed that they were also learning software development and it's progressing and stuff like that. And then let's say I had a third applicant that had a computer science degree, no personal portfolio, and like just straight out of college. And let's say the third person, they were self-taught web developer and they had a really great portfolio. I think out of those three, the person with the degree for me personally would be less of a candidate, just simply because I would want somebody who is able to show that they can learn on their own, they have an interest in it. And so for some people, they go into like a computer science degree just simply because of the money. And so
yeah,
like those employees tend to like burn out or they don't last very long. But if you have somebody who has like a fully fleshed out, portfolio, they have a bunch of product or projects and stuff in there that show what they're capable of doing, what they're interested in and stuff like that. It's just they're more interesting as a candidate for me as somebody who's looking to hire somebody. So I would lean more towards the first candidate or the third candidate. And then from there, it's just a matter of like, oh, this person like works in tech already. This person is also spending their free time like developing themselves, working on things inside of
yeah,
tech. And so for me, like somebody who is in tech support, working a full time role there, but is also taking the extra step to learn and educate themselves outside of their role, for me, that's a more interesting draw than somebody who just like, all they do is like maybe just program on the side and it's just like a hobby for them. But if it's somebody who's like clearly wants tech as a career, like that's their career choice, and so they're working full time in tech and they're spending their free time on the side also developing their skill set in tech, that to me that's more of an interesting draw. So I think that's a leg
yeah.
up, yeah.
But usually you're gonna have like really strong applicants
Right.
from the outside because there's like hundreds of people applying and
Right. And so the thing
full of
that
experience.
yeah, so the thing that sets you apart too there is like you've got to be able to sell yourself. And that's
Oh
where
yeah,
the
there's
the
so many things
resume,
that
yeah.
come into tech that like you have to have. There's a lot of skills that come into it,
Right.
soft skills and hard skills.
Right. So the thing is with tech, you could be a walking textbook and know everything from A to Z, but if people don't think you're gonna mesh well with the company culture, and
Oh
people
yeah,
don't think you're gonna make a good team member, chances are like the only way you're really gonna have some sort of like big breakout success is if you're doing it on your own. And so like there are there are ways to set yourself apart, especially if you're, say, if you're like an average programmer, right? Say, any run of the mill programmer that comes in, like you're probably on par with them. You're not like specialized in anything, right? But let's say you have a really strong network, you have really strong foundations in conversational skills. You're not necessarily agreeable entirely, but like you can work with people, like different kinds of people. You get along well. You're like a team, more team oriented person. So like somebody like that, it's going to be a lot easier to hire and train up, and hit the ground running and have success in a
Oh, you're
role than
right.
somebody who comes in who's like, I know everything. I do everything X, Y, and Z way. If you do it another way, you're wrong. Like if that person is just completely disagreeable and no one gets along with them, they don't fit the company culture.
Yeah, but
There's a very low chance that that person's
people,
going to get hired.
yeah, but people are usually agreeable, even programmers, or it's like pretty rare to find someone that's like,
Sometimes,
I don't
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and the smartest programmer ever.
yeah, yeah. I think the field has changed a lot too in the last like 5-10 years. But
Yeah.
I think really what it is we've got to start working towards, we got to nail down exactly like what kind of work specifically is it that you like, and we just start tailoring your personal projects and portfolio to building towards that. And then while we're working on that, we find a way to like almost like an elevator pitch sort of deal where we're um, kind of just finding a summary of you to like sell
Oh
yourself
yeah.
a little bit better, because it's helpful when you go into these interviews. And so like in general, like they ask you, why do you think you're going to be a good fit at this company,
Yeah.
why do you think your
I've
skill set
actually
matches,
been
stuff
been
like
using
that.
ChatGPT to
Oh, yeah, yeah.
tailor
Hmm.
the responses to those questions based on my experience and on what I learned from my degree and from what I learned from myself with
Right,
myself.
right.
Yeah, but those are tough. Those are tough to answer.
Yeah, so
Um, yeah.
the cool thing is like when they ask you like why you would be a good fit for this kind of role, this kind of position, it essentially that's what they're asking you for right there is your elevator pitch. So like your quick 30-second pitch that
Oh
makes
yeah.
you, so to speak.
Yeah.
So for instance, like you could, if you're somebody who could take something completely unrelated and apply it to like a different career field, like that just makes you more interesting. So for instance, like if I was interviewing for a position, let's say, and it was like, I don't know, an SQL role, and it was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to say like data analytics or something, but like basically it was just back end development. They're like, oh, like what makes you a good fit for this role? And it's like, on my resume, let's say I have an interest section. It's like, oh, on my interests, like I have like puzzles down as interest. It's something like just so
Oh yeah.
blatantly random. And it's like, oh, like I like doing like jigsaw puzzles or something. And it's like, well, the reason why I do that is because like jigsaw puzzles, it's like I like figuring out problems and putting together like logical
Yeah.
solutions to figure things out. And
That's
it
actually
yeah, and it's like my brain works
yeah.
in a logical way. And so like when I look at these roles for back end development, it fits my skill set and also my personal interests. And that's something that just sets you apart from somebody who's like, oh, like I took SQL courses in college.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And so it just
But
makes you more personable, because it's like instead of just
yeah.
another applicant, it's like, oh, this guy's kind of weird, he likes jigsaw puzzles, but like that's kind of cool how he like relates it to SQL development and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you could also mention like the SQL experience, like
Right,
in my case,
right.
or something first, and after that talk about your hobbies or like yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
like
you need both, but it's definitely, it's a, when they ask you that question, it's like you gotta you gotta have something that you're confident in, and you gotta show interest in yourself as well, if that makes sense. Because like
oh
if
yeah,
you're not
yeah,
interested in
makes
yourself,
sense.
how do you expect other people to be interested in you? You know what I mean?
Actually, yeah,
And so
but it's like really hard
it is, it
because
is.
a lot of people have low self-esteem and like
Right,
don't I don't
right.
know.
And it
Yeah,
just, it takes time, and it honestly, the more you get interested in something and that becomes more of like a part of your personality, I think that it'll make things a little bit easier, because it's like, for instance, like let's say you're really interested in like esports, right? And so like
Yeah.
esports is like a big part of your personality, and it's like if you're so interested in esports and esports is a huge part of your personality in some shape or form, you're somewhat interested in yourself at that point. You know what I mean? It's like it's
Yeah.
something you can talk about to anybody, and you could talk
Hmm.
about it probably for hours. And so like you just need to have having an interest at least will help overcome a lot of that the sticking point there where it comes to like the lack of confidence. And then having the personal projects and the portfolios
Yeah.
and building on that will help you with the technical side of it. And so it's really just it's a matter of like finding a way to like mix the two. So um, you know, see if
Yeah.
maybe the website design aspect of it really is like what you want. And then so if you stick with the tech support stuff, it pays your bills, and you don't come home at the end of the day pissed off every day, and it's tolerable, it's manageable. You can work your way up, make more money there. That gives you options. You can explore that way, and then also you can have this portfolio on the side that you're developing, kind of using that to figure out exactly what it is that you want, and what
Yeah.
direction you want to go in.
But I guess I just I'm worried if this job falls through.
Hmm.
Like, what am I gonna do? Because it took me 9 months to land this role.
Right.
So, but I've actually seen a lot of openings for tech support.
Yeah.
And, maybe I could also refresh or learn SQL, or use it as a database for a project. And if this falls through, I go for another tech support role, or something with SQL, like
That's
something
always,
you do.
yeah, that's always an option. And then there are also like remote support roles that you can look for at some
Yeah.
bigger companies too, just in case. Like I know Apple has like a big one. They like hire a lot of people to do like chat and phone
Oh
support.
yeah.
They literally like send you the device and everything to like
Oh.
to
Mm-hmm.
to work for them. And I think that the pay is pretty good. I don't know what it would be if it's like, overseas or something, but um, there
Yeah.
are options out there, and obviously the most important thing is that you protect yourself first. Make sure that, like your income is good, you have job security, stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
once you get in the groove and you're comfortable, then that's where it's time to start using that extra free time and like building on yourself. Because like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like let's say you have two developers. You have one guy who landed a developer job straight out of college and has been working for the same place for like 5 years, and you have this other person who's in tech support who for the last 5 years has been like maybe moving up in tech support, but also like developing projects and stuff on the side, and they're continuously keeping up with their education, and they're teaching themselves like all the functionality that they
Yeah.
need to build new projects and stuff like that. That person has a much more diverse skill set versus the person who has just been trained at this one job for 5 years, because coding is very job
Oh, that's actually
specific.
true. Yeah.
And so
It's an
like
advantage.
yeah, and so that's an advantage to you, even though it's like you're not necessarily in the field. Your trajectory down in the future later on is probably going to be higher than somebody who literally is just sticking at the same company for like
Yeah.
5-10 years. Because with tech, it's like every job you move to, you could be using the same exact languages, and it's just completely different. Like it's a completely different code base, and you're learning everything over and over again every time you move roles. But like if you're able to self-educate and learn things that way, you can move roles, and every time you move roles, there's a potential for a salary increase there. And so like
Yeah.
in the end, you can come out ahead of somebody who started day one in computer science versus like
Yeah.
somebody who spent some time developing themselves and like really figuring out where they wanted to go. It's not necessarily a race, but it's always nice to make more money quickly, like quicker
Yep.
or like upfront. Like obviously that's the goal with a job. Like people don't work because necessarily they like working, they work because they need money. But you know
Yeah.
if you put the pieces in place, you set yourself up right. You make sure you're getting your needs met. So for instance, like your bills are paid, stuff like that.
Yeah.
At that point, that's where you have to take that extra step and start exploring and kind of figuring out like what you need to do for
Yeah.
for that next step. So like that personal portfolio I think is going to be number one. But like just from the stuff that you sent me on your GitHub, um, like it looks good. It's all like I mean I don't know, like it works. The design is clean. It's especially the image one, like the gallery.
Oh yeah, I think I did that like 2 years ago or
Yeah.
something like that. I haven't really coded much. I guess, yeah, just been doing tutorials and being stuck in tutorial hell for like 3 years or
Yeah, and
something
so I
like that.
think to get you out of that, now with the design aspect, if that's your primary interest, then I think going the way of just like trying to design things for other people, maybe that'll give you a little bit more of a motivation in that regard too.
Yeah.
Just simply because it's like I know for me it can be hard to like use my own wants as motivation, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so like if I'm helping somebody else out, for me personally, I find that that
That's like
motivates me a lot more.
bigger boost motivation.
Yeah, because it's like it extends beyond you. It's like it's more than just me. So maybe that's something worth looking into. Like maybe there's like that aspect there that's missing that is kind of hard for you to find motivation in. Maybe because it's like you're wanting to work for something, not necessarily work for, but like work on something that's a little bit more than just like personal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but like you said near the beginning
Mhm.
with the freelance stuff, I think, I mean, yeah, I'm actually gonna do that. I'm gonna like look at different smaller businesses and maybe just design the site as I'm relearning the stuff, HTML,
Right.
JavaScript, and CSS.
Yeah.
And after I've done, just contact them or send them an email to see if they're, yeah. I'd
Yeah.
even give them the website for free, like the
Right.
first two or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But yeah,
that I
that's
think
really
that's
good
a
advice. Thanks for
yeah, for sure.
everything.
Yeah, that was the goal. I mean, and so we can always schedule more meetings and stuff like that.
No,
I
man, it's fine. I don't want to bother you with
no,
like
no,
the
no.
fun
This
stuff.
it's totally fine.
But
This is meant to be like a long-term thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm the way I was kind of envisioning this was more so instead of it being like a one and done type of deal, it was like
yeah.
almost like a reoccurring thing.
It.
Just checking in and making sure like, you're hitting your goals, but also I know it helps for me personally where like if I have somebody who is also checking in on me, it's like I got to make
Oh
sure I
yeah,
got to get this done because like, this person is checking up on me in a week, so I got to make
oh
sure I
yeah.
get this done, you know what I mean?
No, but I've been thinking about doing the same thing that you're doing right now with like coaching other people
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's such an insane need for it.
There is, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually been um, looking on a subreddit. I think it's called Find a Path or something like that.
Yeah, actually, I've seen that one before.
Yeah,
I
and
frequent that one a little bit. Yeah,
there's like hundreds of thousands of people like
right.
completely lost and yeah.
I learned something from you. I actually am gonna write that down because maybe I'll go
Yeah,
see
yeah,
it, put my
yeah.
services in there.
You should look into that subreddit or like just make a quick post if
Hmm.
offering coaching or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. I kind of forgot about that,
Yeah,
honestly.
but yeah, I think your idea is really good.
Yeah,
I
thank
wanted
you.
to do the same,
Hmm.
but didn't have the yeah. I think there's a lot of money to be made.
There is, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
people are always looking to spend money. Like
yeah.
that's just the truth. And it's like if you give people something worth value that they can get behind and they want to put money into it, like people will support you.
No, but it's a really huge need I think right now.
Right.
So yeah, I just wanted to ask you like now that we're ending,
Mhm.
where do you want your channel to go or like to
Yeah,
head or
so for me personally, my So like I kind of have this like grand idea, I guess. So like
Oh, okay, it's
um
secret.
no, it's definitely it's not a secret, but it's it can be a little silly, I guess. But essentially the idea is like I want I want to extend this YouTube channel much further than YouTube, if that makes sense. So like I
Yeah,
want to build this into like an entire community of people who essentially are all working towards like self-improvement and like different like things in their career, financial stuff, fitness, like people who are just generally interested in like being better every single day. Having a giant
yeah,
community of people like that pulled together where everybody is like contributing and helping each other and kind of like almost starting like a almost like a mini economy, I guess, if that makes sense. So like if you go into like this community and there's a bunch of people there like, oh, this person is like the design guy. He offers like web design and
yeah,
helps people like start their
yeah,
businesses with like a website and good prices. And it's like, okay, like now that's a connection. And so the idea is just like to have this whole community of like people networking and like building each other up. So like just like the success of
yeah,
of everybody, I guess, if that makes sense. So
yeah. It makes sense.
that's kind of like the grand idea of it. But like in
No,
terms of just my
that's really
channel,
cool.
I think my goal right now is just to get partnered. So I think the partnership requires like 1,000 subs. I'm sitting like right at 500 or something, and so now I'm just like,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah. So I just gotta, I'm just staying consistent with it, and I'm hoping that like this career service thing starts to take off a little bit, and
Yeah.
kind of like gives me another aspect of my channel that I can just keep using for content, stuff like that. So that's kind of the direction that I'm going with that right now.
How long have you been doing uh, videos, posting
Um,
videos?
so let's see. I really started in December last year, so like seven
Oh, that's
months.
actually not that
Yeah,
long ago.
yeah,
Wow,
it's,
that's crazy.
yeah. So
Your growth is pretty good.
yeah,
Like,
it was a lot better. So basically, in early 2023, I had a lot of stuff happening. I had basically had to travel for like an entire month. I had a death in the family, and then like I had the
wow.
my whole relationship kind of fell apart. But during that period of time, I was like not posting, so there was like a good 2 to 3 month gap where like everything was just kind of like on a decline. But I'm back on it now.
Yeah.
I've been streaming and posting, and now I have this
I've
thing.
actually
So
I've actually gotten a recommendation,
mhm.
a video recommendation on YouTube, like 2 or 3 times now from your channel.
Oh, nice. Well, that's
It's like,
good.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
good.
like the the how to help people as a gamer video or something like that.
Yeah. I think that was like one of my first ones.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
I
Yeah.
just got recommended it like 3 times in a row, and I was like, "What the fuck?
Yeah. That's
The
cool. I
algorithm
love
woke this
that.
guy up."
Yeah. I mean, it rewards consistency. Also, that's another thing. I forgot to mention. I don't know if you're interested in like YouTube at all, but like
Yeah, I'd like to
devlogs.
start too.
Yeah, devlogs are huge. Like there are people who their entire channel is just them talking about the projects that they're making, and then sometimes it's like, have you heard of like the
Oh,
Feynman technique when it comes to like learning new stuff?
oh, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so you can kind of do that, but like in video form. So for instance, like if you make a project, you then just like go on like a vlog style where you're just kind of running through the project, how you did everything, like the challenges and stuff like that that you faced and how you overcame them. And then that is like also another layer of your personal portfolio. It's like when you go
Yeah,
to
that would
apply for a
help.
job, you shoot your YouTube link in there and it's like, oh, this person is like this is a cool person. Like they have like their own stuff. It just makes you way
Yeah,
interesting.
that would actually help with the information
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
To
retention
be
and
able
mhm.
to explain on the interview
Right.
your project and stuff.
Yeah. Well, now you've got some options now. So
Yeah,
yeah. So it sounds like you got a little bit more of a direction. So I mean,
yeah. It's actually
whenever,
really helpful.
yeah,
This
and whenever
uh,
you need, man, just check back in and we'll set something
okay,
up
man.
again. Like I'm available. So I work remote now, so I'm
Oh,
available.
that's awesome. You work remote?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, that's
Yeah.
really good,
So
actually. I'm gonna work remote too if this
yeah.
job
Yeah.
ends up materializing.
Right. I think it will.
Okay,
I think it will. If you put the effort in, you stay consistent. You're working
yeah,
on
for sure.
yourself. It'll happen. It'll happen for sure.
Okay, thanks a lot, man.
All right, man.
Bye.
Take it easy. We'll see ya.